for your miracles, for your blessings.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I really do pray this year has been kind to you as we are finishing up the second month of the year already. Where is the year going? Because today we will be going through a story in the Bible and talking through how it could very much be applied to your life right now. I am coming to you from 2 Kings chapter 4. The title is called Elisha Helps a Poor Widow. The poor widow just loses her husband. She finds herself in a financial crisis. She is being threatened that her sons will be taken away from her and made into slaves, and she has no money, yet she is left with financial burden. In the midst of finding herself in this crisis, she reaches out to a man of God, Prophet Elisha, asking for help. He basically tells her to go bottle up the oil that she had in her kitchen, to go sell it, and to cover her financial needs. The reason why I'm so excited about this video is because there's so many themes in this story. Chapter 4 in 2 Kings. One day, the widow of a member of the group of prophets came to Elisha and cried out, "My husband who served you is dead, and you know how he feared the Lord. But now a creditor has come, threatening to take my 2 sons as slaves. What can I do to help you?" Elisha asked. "Tell me, what do you have in the house?" "Nothing at all, except a flask of olive oil," she replied. And Elisha said, "Borrow as many jars as you can from your friends and neighbors. Then go into your house with your sons and shut the door behind you. Pour olive oil from your flask into the jars, setting one aside when it is filled." So she did as she was told. Her sons kept bringing jars to her, and she filled one after another. Soon, every container was full to the brim. "Bring me another jar," she said to one of her sons. "There aren't any more," he told her. And then the olive oil stopped flowing. When she told the man of God what had happened, he said to her, "Now sell the olive oil and pay your debts, and you and your sons can live on what is left over." This story is so beautiful, miraculous. It's so God. Just within these 7 verses, we see multiple themes of God's provision. And not only does he provide what she needs, he exceeds her expectation. He provides abundantly and exceedingly more than she could ever have even imagined based off of what she had. Or in this case, what she believed she didn't really have. We see the theme of community, multiple hands coming together to get something done. I don't want to butcher the verse, but I know somewhere in Ecclesiastes it says 2 is better than 1, but a cord of 3 braided strand cannot be easily broken. I'm going to put it here just so I'm not paraphrasing incorrectly, but that part. We see the theme of obedience. Elisha told her to go fill up as many jars as she could with the oil that she had, and she did as she was told. Her obedience made way for the blessing that the Lord was able to serve her in her life. We see faithfulness on both ends of the spectrum. We see the faith that the lady had in taking a little flask of olive oil and filling multiple jars. She was able to fill them to the brim to the point where she needed another jar when they said there was no more. You can't tell me that's not giving miracle. You cannot tell me that's not God. We see faithfulness on her end. We see faithfulness on God's end. We see the theme of compassion. This widow comes crying to Elisha, asking for help. He doesn't immediately tell her to stop. He doesn't say that she's overreacting. He doesn't shut her down. He immediately asks her, "What can I do to help you?" Sometimes it takes a village. Sometimes we need that wise counsel to help talk us off a cliff sometimes. Sometimes we need to reach out to people who are better at problem solving than we are. And not only was she financially covered by the Lord, but there's also redemption in her saving her family. Because remember in the beginning, a creditor has come and is threatening to take my 2 sons as slaves. She saved her family. She's able to provide for her family now that her husband has passed away. Huge theme that we see in the story is that the poor widow uses what she has. She has faith in the Lord. She was able to become fruitful and multiply on what she already had. In verse 2, when Elisha asks her, "What do you have?" and she starts her sentence off with nothing at all. She has nothing at all, but she had that olive oil that she was able to bottle up. Not only was she able to sell it and cover her current finances, but he literally tells her, "You and your sons can now live on what is left over." Not only does the Lord provide, he exceeded her expectation in his provision. You gotta know this is the same God that we are serving now. You gotta know this is the same God that could do it for you. Something that really stands out to me about this story too is having gratitude. Is if you genuinely feel like you have been stripped of everything, please remember my good man Job. Please remember that whole story about how he lost everything. But Job remained faithful and loyal to the Lord because in the end, he did not lose everything. Job's everything was God. Sometimes the Lord will make us endure these trials, these periods that might feel so long and drawn out, of suffering, of confusion, of lack. The more you lean on God, the more he will show you that he could do it and that he could turn it around. And he'll only make you suffer for a little while, but it's only to build up your perseverance. It's to build up your endurance. It's to build up your faith in him. I think the fact that she said she had nothing, but she did indeed have olive oil up in that kitchen, I feel like we can all resonate with that, with at least one thing in our life. Maybe it's not a tangible physical thing such as olive oil that could be bottled up, but maybe the Lord very much made you so good in something. Maybe he blessed you with a talent, a skill that you excel at. Maybe you have to put a little bit of work in. Maybe you have to go gather your own bottles. You got to put in the work to see the fruit of that. In Proverbs, we see such good financial advice about how to be good stewards of the money that the Lord is trusting us with. I think ultimately we all have something that we are sitting on. Sometimes it takes that little bit of work. You might very much be sitting on oil that could be bottled up. You might be sitting on a skill. You might be sitting on a talent. You might be sitting on a gift from the Lord that is inside of you. To be able to see the fruit and multiplication of it, it requires a little bit of work on your end. Imagine if the widow pointed out that she had olive oil, but did not do the work to be able to sell the olive oil for profit to save her family and to now be able to provide for her household. Imagine if she was lazy or defiant to the fact. Chapter 10, verse 4 in Proverbs says, lazy people are soon poor. Hard workers get rich. There's another proverb that goes along the lines of a nap here, a nap there, and now you slept your way into poverty. Sometimes you really have to do your part to plant your seed in the morning and see what comes of it. And I genuinely applaud the widow for doing that, because during this time, men were always the provider, and she had to come up with a way, and she let the Lord pave the way for her through her obedience and her faith. It is okay to want to be financially structured. I think sometimes people feel it's a little touchy to talk about money in the Bible when the Bible presents us such financial wisdom that the Lord wants us living comfortably in the abundance that is him. What he doesn't want us to do is to idolize money. He does not want us to love money more than him or at all. He wants us to use it as the resource that he intended it to be. He doesn't want us getting into get rich quick schemes. He doesn't want us doing dirty, unlawful things to earn this money. He wants us to have a good work ethic, a great heart posture, a great attitude, be a hard worker to reap the harvest that he promised us as long as we are honest. As long as we seek him through every business venture, every idea, he will bless it with his providing hand. A verse I also wanted to include in this video that I feel like is one of the most misinterpreted, misunderstood verses in the whole Bible is when people say that money is the root of all evil. We are missing one word when we say that verse. So in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Money is not evil. What you're doing with it could be. If you are idolizing it, are you worshiping it? Are you finding your worth in it? Are you being dishonest with how you're accumulating it? That's what makes it evil. Money is a resource. We are living in the world, and as long as we are walking on this earth, we have bills, we have responsibilities, we have goals, we have communities to give back to, we have the obligation to tithe as people of the church, as people in Christ. The Lord is giving us this as a tool, and it's really all about your heart posture and understanding that money is a resource while we're here on earth. I think that when it comes to discovering what your oil is, to having gratitude, like what do you have? What are you really good at? Before you say I can't, before you speak those words of failure over yourself, really take time in prayer and ask God, what did you create me for? What is my purpose here on life? You guys don't understand how long I spent praying this prayer to God. Sure enough, he revealed to me that I'm a very artsy, creative person. He will very much shine a light and reveal to you the things that he created you specifically to do here on earth. You might have an idea that you think is really good, but you're not pursuing it because you're shy. Maybe you feel incapable. Maybe you feel like you don't have the equipment, you don't have the resources, you don't have the connects. Maybe you did start a project and just strayed away from it. I am a firm believer and testimony that when the Lord calls you to do something, you do not have to feel ready for it. You do not have to have it all together. You don't even have to have any resources. What you have to have is faith. You have to believe that all things are possible with God and trust that He will fund that idea. He will bring the business in. He will bless you, but you have to trust Him. We see in the very first chapter of Genesis that the Lord intended us as a people to be fruitful and to multiply. Then God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and govern it." Now, when you're reading in Genesis and you're reading in the Old Testament, be fruitful and multiply to only producing multiple children so that we can create more generations upon generations. We are to be fruitful and multiply in a multitude of things. Fill it with the gifts that He blessed you with. Fill it with the skill sets that you know the world needs that could enhance someone else's company or just build your own. I wanted to share 2 testimonies from years ago that relates to the poor widow. I found myself in a financial bind, really just came down to using what I had. In a time where I genuinely felt like I had nothing, I very much had something. I was able to, in the first testimony, cover my bills, and in the second testimony, move my mother and I out of a very dangerous situation. So the first testimony comes from 2019. That year, I had did something not very responsible, and I had quit my job to pursue a long-distance relationship. Hey, we listen and we don't judge, I pray. It had gotten to the point where I was just living off my savings, no care in the world, thinking that my savings at the time was this bottomless figure that was gonna last forever. I was traveling like every 2 weeks. Sure enough, came that time where it was low. At this time, I knew nothing about job searching. I knew nothing about interviewing. I was looking up ideas online about how to make some quick cash. Someone had suggested Marketplace on Facebook, which if you don't know what Marketplace is, it's a place where people sell everything. Like you can sell cars, you could sell furniture, you could sell clothing, you could sell shoes. I was like, okay, but what am I gonna sell? So I'm living with my parents at the time and I'm like, you know what? I have a closet full of clothes. I'm gonna keep a good 2 outfits and I'm just gonna sell the clothes out of my closet. I felt like I had nothing, but I had something. Like my closet of clothes at the time was the poor widow's flask of olive oil. I had to take every single shirt, every pair of pants, every skirt, every pair of shorts. I was taking pictures, multiple angles, multiple times a day. I don't even know how because some of the clothes were a little raggedy. But God provides. I put in the work. I was putting the content out. I was meeting up with people. I was driving all types of lengths just to sell a single shirt sometimes. I was able to get back on my feet and I kept a good outfit or 2 and sold the rest of my closet up until I was finally able to find a job. But I just was working with what I had. I didn't know how to even go about applying for jobs. I felt like I had nothing, but I very much had a closet full of clothes that I was able to sell and I was able to pay all the bills that I was falling behind on. Praise God. Now, the second testimony happens exactly a year after the fact. It wasn't that I had oil sitting on a counter ready to be bottled up. However, the Lord put the oil within me and it was up to me to create that oil outward. Let's get into the story because this one is really good. I have always loved art. My grandfather was a painter. He really encouraged my sisters and I growing up to just be really creative, to engage in as many arts and crafts things as we could. As I got to high school, I really loved art class, but I would compare my art to that of others. I was like, maybe I'm really not that good at drawing. The year 2020 comes and someone at an art exhibit asked me to make a piece of art for them to add to their exhibits. The exhibit's theme was on mental health. I have always been really heavy on that and I was like, of course I would do it, but I have never made a painting in my life. Like I have always just done sketches. I work with color pencils, crayon. Like I've never really worked with paint. You know, I was given a canvas and I was given some basic paint. I did a split canvas where half of it was like half of a brain, half of it was like a nice cute like mental health quote, and I took a picture of it. Museum loved it. It made it on the news. I was so excited. And then I ended up posting about it on my Instagram. Someone had replied to my story and was like, this is really good. I love this. I would buy a painting from you. And I was like, you would? I have always just experimented and played around with drawing and sketching and coloring. It was nothing I ever thought to pursue as a career, let alone making it for other people. Like it was just kind of more of like a pastime for me. It was just something that made me feel really close and connected to my grandfather. I was kind of laughing it off and she was like, I'm really serious. And I was like, well, what would you like? Like I'm saying it like I'm taking your order at a restaurant. Like, well, what would you like? She gave me full creative control and I was like, well, I grew up on cartoons, so I made her a Powerpuff Girl painting. This was the first painting that I sold. I was so excited. I went and wrapped it in plastic wrap. Like I was trying to make it look all professional. She found my art so valuable that she trusted and commissioned me for for something that I made from my heart with my hands. It was blowing my mind. I didn't understand it. As soon as I posted that painting, that was when the commission request started coming in, and I was like, oh snap, like we're really doing this. I came to realize that the Lord really blessed me with a gift. It reminds me of the colorful parts, the fun, the vibrance that was my childhood, going through a really rough upbringing. Mind you, this is in quarantine. The whole world was closed down, and I'm just in my bedroom, having a ball, playing with colors, playing with shapes, making this art for people while saving up enough to take my mother and I out of a very dangerous situation. Now, at the time, I was working at Starbucks. I worked at Starbucks for 5 years of my life. I was making it work for what it was, but when the art started taking off, I was able to save up in a way that only God could provide. Sure, I'm sure I could have eventually saved up through Starbucks. It probably would have taken a lot longer than selling the art did. And I don't know if we had that kind of time. I believe in the Lord's divine timing. I believe this all took off for our safety because we were in a situation where we needed to move out ASAP. I was just so thankful for the Lord's provision in that time. And in August of that year, we were able to move out of our dangerous living situation. All because Brittney C took a paintbrush. All because the Lord decided to bless little old me with the attention to detail, with the creative eye to make art. And when you make the Lord's desire yours desire, He will make it work out for you in such ways you never would expect it to work out. God is so good. I'm just relishing in this moment. I'm relishing in His favor. Father God, I just praise You for Your providing hand. The more you come to know the Lord, you come to love His face more than just what He can do for you. Like you come to love who He is. I'm getting emotional. You fall in love with His faithfulness. You fall in love with His matchless name, His track record that will never be tainted. Well, He's such a good God. He takes care of those that just believe and that trust that He can make a way when it looks like there's no other way. So bringing it back full circle to the poor widow in the story, she had very little, what she considered to be nothing. And God showed her that it was very much something. He is so faithful to us. He provides. He exceeds our expectations. The Lord is victory. The Lord is abundance. Let the Lord help reveal the oil that you might be sitting on. The oil that might very much be laying around that you could be bottling up and using to your advantage. Oil that could be helping you through your financial burdens right now. The oil that could be helping you help the community in their financial burdens. Oil that could be bottled up to help tithe with the church. The oil that could be bottled up to work towards your dreams. I encourage you and I pray that you seek God, that you seek this oil. We all have it. He wants to take care of us. He wants to take care of you. He doesn't want you struggling. He wants you to trust that He can make a way out of no way. He wants you to trust Him and let Him be your everything. Let Him lead you to everything. I prayed so much before sitting down and doing this video just so that you can hear God through me and not just my personal take on things. I really thank y'all for watching. I love y'all and I will see you in the next YouTube video.